Alright, well, hello everybody, and we're back. Joined here by Nick and Brian. My name is Murph, and welcome again to Pseudo Ludo. If
Hello.
it's your first... Hey, oh yeah, hey. Say hi, guys.
I'm Brian.
Yeah, and if it's your first time listening, thanks for tuning in. We get here every week, and we talk about video games here in this place I mentioned, as if we're actually meeting up somewhere.
It is a physical location. It's called
Yeah,
Friendship Lane.
Yeah, right in my heart. That's the physical location.
It's very cold in here. Zip. Ooh.
So
got him.
This month we've been wrapping up the generation by talking about our favorite aspects of games in various discussions. Today we're going to be talking about our favorite narrative games, and I think it's going to be a pretty lively show. And let's also just get into a little bit of news. But first, what have you guys been playing?
Which one? Which one of us?
No, I wasn't talking. I was talking to the guys standing behind me as I record this.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Classic mix-up. Okay.
Yeah, that man over there. Yeah.
What if that was not a joke and two strangers started talking? I have been playing a little bit more of The Last of Us 2, the grounded permadeath run that I've been doing. And I'm only doing permadeath by chapter, but it is so brutal. I fell down an elevator shaft, and I wanted to fall down one in real life after that. I also played a little bit of the Ghost of Tsushima Legends multiplayer mode, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So it's there's a 2-player story mode and then a 4-player survival mode. I think the story mode is less. It's like it feels more tacked on, where like the survival mode I think feels more thought out and was a lot more fun to play. Mm-hmm. It's cool to have the story mode, but I played a couple missions of it with one of my friends, and I don't really think it's something I'm gonna go back to. I think if I played it again, I would rather do the survival mode, which the survival mode was very fun. So it's cool to see a developer adding like such a substantial expansion for free, and I always am a proponent of co-op games because I feel like the multiplayer space is predominantly competitive, and I'm more of a fan of co-op stuff, so it's cool to see an expansion like this. So it's definitely a welcome addition to the PlayStation first party lineup, but not something I see myself playing all the time or anything, but it's a good
Gotcha.
time.
Yeah, I still want to go and check that out. Nick, have you gotten into that?
I have not.
Yeah, we should get on sometime and play together. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
And that's it for you this week?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nick, how about you?
For me, it's only been Smash online multiplayer. Rolling with some Steve.
Yeah, how's he doing?
First off,
You said it like he's a real person. How's he doing?
he is. He's here. He's one of the men behind me.
Now there's men behind you. How many?
Oh, wait. Oh, Brian, they should be on their way to your house. Don't worry.
No, they're quick travelers, if that's true.
The men are coming.
Well, first off, I haven't played Smash Online in like a month or 2 months, whatever it was. And I tried to play like immediately after we recorded last week's podcast, or maybe the next day. But I still had a 30-minute ban on my online activity because I must have left the game the last time I played. You'd think that would just like keep running, that clock would run while you were not in game, but
No, they have to punish you.
yeah, Nintendo did.
Wait, you have to open the game up to let the time run?
I guess because I had to wait 30 minutes, and I just played the computer to try to learn some Steve.
Yeah, that really doesn't make much sense.
Other than that, I think he's a lot of fun. I do love his moveset. I think it kind of goes with like how I kind of like to play.
Mm-hmm.
He's, in my opinion, for me, he's super good against like the heavies or a bigger character, or even someone that's just a little bit slower too. But the people like all the anime sword fighters or Fox, the guys that are fast and have more straightforward attacks, they pose some trouble. But maybe I'm just garbage. So that's my take on that, though.
Well, I appreciate it. As for me, there's really only been one game this week that I've touched, and yeah, I regret to inform you all that after an entire decade clean, I have gone back into the World of Warcraft. So I don't know what exactly prompted me, but I was like, oh, I have this PC now, and I haven't tried WoW Classic yet, which is this basically separate game they release that is just the original game without all the expansions and updates they've made over the past 15 years or so. And it's great because it's actually just a nostalgia trip. But I also think that game was just the way it played. I liked it way more originally as to what it's like now, because I've also checked out the new version, and I think the classic mode is how it should be. I think it's more fun to level, more fun to play. I've heard some of the end game stuff is better in the expansions, which makes sense, but I'm having fun. Good to be back. Yeah.
Good to be here.
How many hours you put in?
Yeah, we measure that in days here in Azeroth. Days.
Remember that movie?
Wow, that was
Stinker.
not that good. But yeah, regardless, it's been fun to go back. It's definitely like an old game, but it's kind of amazing that it came out in 2004 because I just can't, even the graphics look really good. You can switch to like the original graphics and it looks great. It's got so much depth. It's just kind of incredible. This came out like 7 years after Ocarina of Time. You know what I mean? Or not even 6 years after Ocarina of Time, that they could make something of this scope just a few years after, the pioneering of 3D games.
Yeah, it's wild.
But yeah, all right, let's, without further ado, let's go to the news. So first up on, the news is we're just generally going to discuss the PlayStation 5 UI that got shown to us last week. Overall, what are your takes, guys?
Look clean.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool features that I didn't expect. It seems like they've placed a pretty clever emphasis on the party system and the way you can share your screen. It has a little picture-to-picture thing, which is really cool. And I also like the in-game help that you can get. I think that's really clever. I hope it kind of outsources to YouTube and stuff. So if developers don't support it, you can still use that feature and because for trophy hunting, that'd be so good.
Yeah, that would be
not have your phone or your computer up, but actually have it on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So little things like that, I was surprised to see. But yeah, I think the actual UI itself looks really cool. I just can't fucking wait to get this damn console. I'm chomping at the bit for it every damn day, looking at Reddit and refreshing for news. I'm just like a little kid waiting for Christmas. Can't wait.
That's great. Yeah, I do like the picture-in-picture stuff. I think overall it's a cool look. I hope it's gonna not lag as time goes on, which is what seems to always happen with these systems. I would love if it just if they prioritize speed over anything, because that's definitely the worst part about every UI is when it starts to slow down. Otherwise, I usually don't even care what it looks like if it's just running fast,
Yeah, which obviously PS4 does not do anymore. Sad.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that struggle right now with my iPhone 8. Things are starting to get clunky over here.
That's not even that old, is it? Because there wasn't a 9. Right?
I don't know.
So
man.
it's like 2 phones ago.
It's 2 years old.
There's way too many now. It used to be a novel thing, and so you'd be like, "Oh, what iPhone's that?" Half the time, I don't even know, because I do the upgrade thing where I get the new one every year, and it's 10X Pro. Because they come out with 5 new ones every year. It's very confusing now, but good for them.
Yeah, I mean, overall it looks good. They're calling it cells. Is that the new word that they're using for
cards?
Cards, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of reminds me a little bit of what Microsoft did with the Xbox One originally, except it looks it's that idea, but much better. I think actually executed in a way that looks good and isn't horrendous. Overall, I'm definitely excited to get my hands on it and kind of snoop around in all of the sub menus and stuff.
The one thing that I think is strange is that they didn't really clarify, as far as I know, is are the cards specifically for trophies or just like random in-game things?
Oh, random things. I think
That's weird.
I hope. I mean, because there's things like news, and I think there's going to be like. So that'll be where there's announcements and stuff, right? And maybe there will be community-based stuff. There will be trophies. I hope that you can customize what you want to, like what types of cards you want to see, because it would really suck if like you didn't get to optimize your setup the way you want it to. So it's like maybe when I play games, I want trophies first, then like maybe what my party's up to, that kind of thing, screenshots. I don't want it to just because that's what it's going to be. It's like if the devs customize it, but we can't change it, then the news stories that you see are all just going to be ads, and that could be potentially a bad time.
Yeah, definitely could be. I mean, there still seems to be like a fair amount of stuff we don't know, which is interesting considering like the accessories start shipping out like the next week and stuff like that. So like,
one thing I wanted to get into the progress thing that it shows you, which is potentially a very cool quality of life feature. It tells you basically how much time or how like what percent of the way through a level or something you are, which could be really good for like, oh, like should I do one more, or like am I going to be up too late, or I got to go somewhere in an hour, do I have time to finish this? Like,
I wonder how
that's
it'll,
cool.
like if it affects, like say you're playing Demon Souls and the first boss on average takes people 15 minutes to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Like it says 15 minutes, but then you're just getting absolutely rocked. Like I wonder if it would change or if it would just stay at 15 minutes.
Oh, like if it would
like if it like measures
adapt, your skill.
Wild.
It'd be cool if there were some cool algorithms like that. I assume it's going to start out with just the metadata of all players, and maybe over time it would customize to your maybe your speed as you compare to the average player.
I think most games you wouldn't need that kind of outlier stuff, but like Sackboy, I'm sure most people beat the same the level.
Right, the pacing. Time. Yeah, like a game like Uncharted is going to be
very easy to.
And it'll be cool if they adjust for difficulty, because obviously Uncharted on Crushing is going to take longer than Uncharted on Adventure mode or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the easy one is.
So there's a lot of things that could go into it that could make it useful, or if they kind of just take the easy way out and it doesn't really, it might just not get supported, and it could just end up being really lame and pointless, So hopefully they make the most of it.
That's my biggest concern, is that the things like the tutorials or like the helpful video things, I feel like that's not going to get supported in the long run. I think it'll be like the PlayStation first party stuff, and then maybe a couple of the larger games, but
that's
a lot of the smaller stuff is definitely not going to get help with that.
Yeah, and if there is a way that it's like maybe Sony has a team where they just make partnerships with some freelancer who wants to make guides, right? Something like that, or if it potentially, I don't know if this is possible, but like has a computer play it and goes, you know what I mean? If it's tracked already like a collectible, it could just show a camera in the game of where it is from where you are or something. I don't know.
I mean, they could just let you use that feature for YouTube and
right. Now, one other qualm I have is they didn't say the one feature that was on my wish list that I wanted for a UI. I think this trophy integration is great and all, but I just want to see how long I've played the game. That is the simplest level of tracking. On top of any other kind of statistics you want to track, that is the most obvious thing for every game. And it should just be just like Steam, just like Xbox, just like the Switch. The Switch has a feature you don't. That's like, that's bad.
Whoa.
Sony is the only gaming, platform right now where you can't see your playtime.
I mean, maybe they do have it. You don't know.
Oh, they have it. They have it.
Through those nooks and crannies, Murph.
Whether they're going to share it with us, I don't know.
But I mean, overall, I think it looks cool. I just can't wait to play this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Come on. Just wake me up when October ends.
Wake me up. Wake me up.
I have 2 weeks off in a row for this machine.
Maybe
my glory.
Yeah, you're going to be making a lot of content for the channel, aren't you? Make some YouTube videos, hands-on.
All right, well, Nick, where can they find us?
That's 2 straight weeks where you can go to Burger King for all 3 meals, Bri, because your boy still needs one.
Oh, hey, that's not a bad idea.
I did go to Burger King on Nick's behalf. And I told them Cactus Jack sent me, and they told me to leave.
Nick, I'll do that on your behalf too if you Venmo me for my meal.
Chicken fries.
That's not doing it on my behalf, then, Tim.
I'll get chicken fries on anybody's behalf. I don't care.
Yeah, chicken fries are so good.
So,
I haven't had those since like college.
Yeah, they're great. They're awesome.
You remember the bullet holes in the ordering screen on the one on?
I still have that picture. When you like throwing up a peace sign.
Yeah. Don't post that.
on what?
Yeah, that's definitely looking saucy.
The official Pseudo Ludo Instagram account, of course.
I don't have any social media except for Snapchat, so I can post it on there if you'd like.
Wow, wow.
Easy. I'm not bragging. I'm just making a statement. I could tell you were trying to get all like.
Yeah, I was looking for an alliteration of a name to call you, like, like Debbie Downer, but like something.
Antisocial Annie.
Look at Aussie originality here. Harry Hipster.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be Hipster Harry? That sounds better.
You're
a hipster. You're a hipster.
That's what a hipster would say, wouldn't it, Nick?
You're a hipster, Harry.
I'm fine with that. I'll be whatever you want me to be.
You don't even need those glasses.
I'm a what? Oh man.
All right, easy. Don't laugh at your own joke.
No, that's
Mark.
that's good,
God.
Nick. That's great.
All right, let's talk topic, Murph.
All right. Well, and one other thing is, some people have been complaining about the party feature update. Did you have any issues with that, Brian? I wanted to ask you because I think
it's like a little bit more confusing. Yeah,
you have to. As far as I
they'll-
understand, you have to make a group ahead of time, or something like that.
You just have to make a group, and it's not. It's like an extra step, but it's.
But
like,
then
it seems like
right
it's
there,
not benefit.
so it's not like
yeah, but
It does.
it's
Well,
not
it
a
does.
big deal.
It does seem
It's just-
weird. For
I think it makes sense for like the way that they showed it in the PS5 UI thing makes
Mm-hmm.
it seem like it makes sense. Like if we played a game together, I could just check if that group's online. But
Okay.
the way that I don't think the PS4 UI was like built around it, so it's like clunky because you have to
Right.
do that first, and it just doesn't come off as like a seamless process. I don't know. But
Where
mean,
I
it
see
didn't-
the
it didn't
problem
matter.
is like we're playing Fortnite or Call of Duty or something, right? And we're playing with maybe us three, right? And then we want to add somebody who just got online and like wants to play now. We have to make a separate group with that person.
No, I don't think so.
No, you do.
Are you sure?
If you add them to the one that they're in, they get to read like all the prior history and stuff. It's just it's very weird stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess
Not that people chat on a PS 5.
I mean, I'm sure we'll just have one like big one with everyone that we're friends with, and then we'll have like
the pseudo
a COD
little
one.
pending.
Yeah, and then the Pseudo Ludo patent pending one, and like
Me and Murph's intimate candle.
Yeah,
lit
that's-
chat,
yeah, we're gonna need-
nighttime
we're-
chats.
Priority set that one up, stat Brian.
and then the one where Brian and I just play Marvin's Room into our speaker.
And throw goldfish out the window.
Yeah.
No explanation needed there. I'm excited for the PlayStation 5.
I wish I could be. How the F is online gonna have second rounds of pre-orders before any of the major retailers?
I just wonder
where
if
are
Sony-
they?
So I got mine directly through PlayStation, and I wonder if they will actually make launch date or not. That's what I'm curious about. I feel like they're the ones that will have the best chance of doing that, but
Yeah, no, I think you're pretty safe.
oh man,
So
just
do you?
70 to November.
Wow, that was a deep sigh. You guys want to get into the discussion of the show? This is what the people came here to see, or more
Hear?
accurately, listen to.
More accurately, turn off.
Wow.
All
Wow.
right, go ahead. Host the-
Yeah, so we're
host
going to be
the
talking
hearing.
about the best narratives that we saw, or should I say, that we played this
Played.
generation, right? And I think we're once again taking a very loose interpretation of this. So maybe not the main plot of the game, but maybe the lore, or maybe some
Oh,
side
no.
quests, or stuff like that.
I know where this is going.
Or maybe it's just a re-release of a 2004 massively multiplayer online RPG. Yeah, so who knows? All kinds of things could be talked about.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
That is what they say over at that pizza place that we
Frequent.
cannot say for legal reasons. Actually,
It's Papa John's.
yeah, it's Papa John's.
Just bleep that.
Joppa Pons.
Yeah, Joppa Pons. That sounds like a Star Wars gangster character.
Yeah, it does. Wow, we
Welcome
just
to
wrote the
Plunder
next
Club.
movie.
Yeah,
Joppa
that's some B character that the Mandalorian fights for like an episode or something.
Yeah, let's get that to Jon Favreau's stat in a laminated letter in a manila envelope.
Oh, you mean Fon Javro, the bounty hunter from the from the Mandalorian season 2?
That comes out next week,
Does it really? Oh, that's
go.
awesome. I'm excited for that.
October 30th.
Okay, all right.
I have like things written out to look forward to until PlayStation because I'm losing my fucking mind.
That's kind of a really like.
That seems just like a good thing to do in general.
I usually do that in general, but I'm really aware and thin with my the things I have.
That's
quote to look forward to.
That's fun. Well, you can look forward to seeing me. How about that? Put
When?
that down any day you need it.
Well, those 2 weeks I have off, let's go
Yeah.
walk.
Oh yeah. That intimate candlelight party chat we talked about.
Yeah, we'll
earlier.
bring it to real life.
Well, what about our intimate candlelight party chat at Panda Express?
Whoa.
We'll always have Panda Express, Nick. Why don't we just actually talk about what we're here to talk about at a certain point? I don't want to rush us along.
No.
Okay. Nick, where can they find us?
Whoa.
No.
Hey.
Yes. Nick is all in on that.
He would do it off rip and just leave.
Go play Steve.
No explanation needed.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you can edit it in. It's funny that I could edit that in. Like, we don't need you to say that every time, but it's nice to hear it.
Literally all I'm here for.
So we're going to be talking about our best narrative experiences in video games. It's going to be a nice civil discussion with no disagreements to be had. And
I'm coming for the throat, Murph. You're done.
if you guys disagree and you want to toast us for, you want to cook Brian up for his bad Last of Us 2 opinion, hit us up at Pseudo Ludo on Twitter, right? Cast or pod? I don't even. Nick will tell you at the end of the show. That's what he's here for.
We run a tight ship over here.
We really do. We really, really do.
Is that the expression? That didn't sound right. What does that even mean? Why would a ship be tight?
Because you got to run a tight ship. You can't let leaks in. Ryan.
The
You want water?
screws,
You want water seeping into your ship?
Yeah.
what
Oh,
about,
that's probably
what kind
like
of ship are we
watertight.
talking about? Like a cruise ship? Like, are the rooms tight?
No, I'm
Any
picturing like a
ship.
pirate ship. That's probably
I think
It
any
sounds
ship
like
you'd
that's an
want to be
archaic
tight.
phrase.
But how tight?
I think Nick makes a lot of good points, and I'm on board for that theory.
Nick's a man of the sea.
You best
start he's believing
in
ghost stories,
Brian. You're in one.
Right. Can somebody start this fucking topic?
Oh man.
I've devolved back into Captain Barbosa.
Nick's first thing: Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Arr.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Number 2, Sea of
Curse of the-
Thieves.
All right, dear God. I think you named. Oh yeah, Obra Dinn. Yeah.
Number 3, Sly Cooper 3. That one level where you're a pirate. Arr. I think there's a Kingdom Hearts Pirates of the Caribbean level. You'll find out.
I think there is.
As I
Oh,
sold you.
No, I think you'll find out, Brian.
Yo, come on.
yo, you got him.
I'm gonna picture that every time we're in party chat on PS5.
Yo, Nick, what if we just didn't let him tell us about it?
place to find some ingredients.
Just had to suffer alone without any of the burden being pushed on us.
Anytime he starts it up, we just join our own party without him. He has to play in the darkness by
Whoa.
himself.
All right, guys. So let's hear about Brian. Why don't you give us one from your list?
I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of overlap here, so I'm going to avoid the big guns for now and go
Okay.
with one that I think might be a little off the beaten path here.
Let's hear it.
And Nier Automata.
Nice.
Now, I wasn't
Great
particularly
story.
thrilled with the game overall as it went on. I think pacing wise, it got a little long in the tooth for me. But in terms of like a video game story and really playing with the medium specifically, I think it succeeds greatly. in telling a story through a video game, which a lot of other games in this list are more like trying to be a movie or trying to be a book type of thing, where this
Right.
is like very clearly a video game. It's a little too anime for my taste, like a little too over the top, but I think it has a lot of really creative ways of storytelling and a lot of very interesting and ambitious themes, which you don't always see, like a lot of existential stuff going on here. It's a good game.
Fun fact: I almost bought it today.
Well,
And
it should have.
Yeah, I was like listening to a podcast and somebody mentioned it, and I was like, oh, I still haven't played that. Before like the end of the generation. That's something I wanted to do. And I checked Amazon. It was like $20, but it didn't have Prime shipping, so it wouldn't have been here for like a week. So GS, but that's what happened. That's what happened to me today.
to my gun squad.
But yeah, that's my first entry. Did either of you have that?
I mean, evidently I didn't, but maybe Nick.
You might be. Maybe you're just
No,
a poser
I
and picked it anyways.
I didn't because I didn't
Okay.
get far enough.
Didn't you? You didn't beat
Oh,
it.
I thought you beat that, Nick.
You didn't even beat one
No.
run.
No, I don't think so.
Jeez, good grief.
This guy.
All right, who's up next? Which one of you?
Oh, Nick
you
is up next.
Silly geese.
Oh man. All right, I'll go with the maybe off script one. Detroit Become
Okay.
Human.
Oh, I had that one. Yo.
Yo,
Wait, did you play that or just watch it?
I played it. I guess
What's
it
the
depends.
difference?
It's a choice based. Yeah, I guess it's a choice based game. So I guess you could have different endings, but the overall premise of the droids and how they interact in the world and the three different characters that you control, their individual stories are cool as well. Well, the way I picked the stories were cool as well. So,
Whoa.
Brian's stories weren't good. Mine was better.
Nah, yo, the ending of mine, I always like end up with like the saddest endings in these Quantic Dream games, like because I just fuck up everything and it gets really dark and it's lit. It's just like really emotionally manipulative at the end. It's good stuff.
What
This
did
game's
you do
very,
at the
very
end?
good. Whoa, we're not gonna spoil this game.
All
Come
right.
on. And I don't
Fine.
remember.
Detroit Become Human is my submission.
Yeah, I had that one too. So strike it from my list. Murph, what's your garbage first pick?
I'm going to go with one that potentially Brian has here, but maybe not. And that's going to be Control
No, I don't. I thought about
2019. Yeah, so it's it takes place in kind of like an SCP, Twin Peaks, X-Files-y type universe, and I didn't think the main story was actually that good. It felt kind of unfinished to me. I think like the character development wasn't really there. It had some cool moments, but what was really cool was all the lore surrounding it and the
Atmosphere.
the atmosphere, the world that they built. It's like a universe where I would love to see an HBO show, right? It's like something that's like genuinely interesting, and I think maybe the biggest compliment I could give it is I actually read the collectibles that you pick up and like those notes like that. There's very few games where I actually take the time to read all the things that I pick up, but in this it was really fun because it's like reading those SCP entries online, and a lot of them were very humorous, but just well written, very cool lore, and yeah, they just established a great world.
Yeah, I can get down with that.
Yeah,
Hate to see
but
it.
yeah,
I'm
again,
looking
the
forward
main
to toasting
yeah.
some of your other picks. Hopefully, hopefully
Yeah.
you brought some stinkers to the table. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I agree. The main story is like a little underwhelming, but in terms of like atmosphere and really creating a specific vision within a game that is very memorable, I think it's definitely up there in that sense. Like it's very, very memorable in the imagery and the world around you, more so than the actual like point A to point B story.
Mm-hmm.
Am I up next now?
Yeah, I guess you're up next.
All right, I'm gonna pick Death Stranding. Now,
I had
a little,
this as an honorable mention.
unconventional, considering the story is like nonsense, but as like a concept and as a world, I think it's top tier. Like there's like when you get down to the nitty gritty of like what's actually going on, it's like way too overcomplicated and silly. But that's also part of Kojima's charm. But like the world is super unique and interesting and horrifyingly prophetic. And I think by the end of it, it's like actually a very endearing story. But it's definitely easy to get lost in the weeds, and it's super chaotic and bizarre. But it's one I just love Hideo Kojima, and I have a deep nostalgia for the old Metal Gear games. And even with all the confusion and tangled webs he weaves, this reminded me of those games. And what is great of the story is excellent, but I can acknowledge some takedowns of how complicated it gets, and there's so much exposition and like repeated exposition where people will just tell you the same thing over and over and over again. But in terms of just like a super unique world and mythology, I think this is an excellent story.
Yeah, I had that as an honorable mention because of the reasons you mentioned.
And Hideo Kojima predicted the coronavirus. Just know.
He did predict it only became like a much, I don't know, that this year gave that game a context that didn't exist before.
Yeah, which is nuts. Like I was like, oh, this is a really thinly veiled metaphor about how we're not as connected as we should be, and then it was just like,
and then it
was
just made
how
it a
we
real
lived
thing.
for 6 months. Like
straight up, like I literally, sometimes I like when I was down in DC, in that apartment, right, and it was like on full lockdown, and I walked outside sometimes like with a backpack to get like food, get supplies, right. And I was walking back on like a misty, morning, right?
Yeah,
it felt like I was in that game sometimes. Like I would literally put my backpack on and like be like, wow, this reminds me of Death Stranding. It's
whenever
crazy.
you come up on a horizon in that game, it's so satisfying. And then like those low roar songs start playing, and it's all good stuff. Really quality content.
Then you crack open an ice cold monster and get on with your day.
All right, Nick, what do you have next?
My next one, I'm gonna assume that you both have this on your list, is What Remains of Edith Finch.
Yes, sir.
Tim?
I did, and I think all of my
absolutely.
all my remaining games will be on your guys's, except for when Murph pretends he. Never mind.
Whoa.
So I'll save it. I don't want to spoil like what else is on my list, but continue.
We've talked about it multiple times on this show before, but just
yes, we have.
So just go listen to our other episodes, and
Boost
don't.
those
Nick,
numbers up,
where
baby.
can they find us?
Where was I? Oh yeah. Overall, it's just a unique gameplay experience, the walking simulator, but the tales that it tells within the game are sad, which I feel like you don't really see a ton of that kind of stuff in games, and it's
Not to that extent.
Yeah, and
It's like raw sad, not like hokey, like sad. Like,
yeah, and it's definitely something everyone should play. Just to sometimes you gotta fall into the sadness,
But I think it's an optimistic game at the end of it. But it's definitely super dark and depressing while you play it. But I think the finale is the message to take from the game is pretty optimistic. And it's really short too, so I would encourage anybody who has any interest in single player games in any capacity to fire it up.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Has a great message and such heartbreaking and like vignettes that you see, but just very well written the whole way through.
Yeah, excellent game. That was on my list for sure. One of my favorites of the gen.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, what's next?
Definitely. I'll throw a little game up that probably won't be on either of your lists, but I just want to. This is more of a shout out than like a main entry for me, but I just wanted to shout out the lore of Overwatch.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that, Tim. Good one.
Blizzard has for a long time been known for cinematics with their games, like World of Warcraft, StarCraft. They all have like really iconic cinematics, and the same goes for Overwatch. When a new one comes up, I always watch it. Every time there's a new character release, they give you some lore, and it's a very cool world. and you don't see much of the story in the game, which is why I'm excited for the story mode in Overwatch 2. But what you do get is these great interactions between the characters that hint at the past, which is really a really good way to tell a story. Nick, you know exactly what I'm talking about when, you're in a lobby and, maybe a Junkrat talks to a Roadhog or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Anna
cool.
And Reinhardt. And...
Right. There's such a rich history with some of these characters, and the cinematics are always really fun to watch. So, that's that. It's a good way to integrate story into a multiplayer game, I think. Where
I have no beef with the pick, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm fiending to tell him if he's wrong about something.
Oh, don't worry. We got some of those. I'm saving those for last.
Hate to see it. Is that your pick or your honorable mention? Or what
I was just gonna throw that up because I think we're gonna have so many crossovers that I kind of wanted to do my more unique ones first. Yeah.
So am I up next now?
Yes, sir.
So my next one is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Nice. I have that too.
I also.
Predominantly similar case with Death Stranding, where it's more of the world than anything. Although I don't think the story has as many problems. The A to B story has as many problems as Death Stranding's does.
I agree.
But it's just a little more. I think the world around you and the history of the world around you is more compelling than the present day story that's happening. But I think Aloy is a great, very instantly iconic character, mascot for the PlayStation brand also. But just even though there's not that much to do within the world is so rich and vivid that it's very fun to explore, and you feel a sense of history. And I just think the general concept of machines becoming nature is a super, super cool concept that they explore very well.
One of the super cool things in that game is when you have to go to those locations or those mystery areas, and it would pull up the holograph of what the area used to be, and it'd be a stadium or a soccer field or apartments, and she finds a teacup and she doesn't know what it is. That kind of stuff is really helps flesh out that world.
Yeah, for sure. The world is. I can't wait for the next one. The world is awesome. I just want to roam amongst the strangely named dinosaur robots.
Ride on a Strider.
Yeah, I think the main story was one of the most memorable parts for me, and that kind of caught me off guard because I thought it did start pretty slow. You know what? It started pretty strong, but with the proving and all that, but then the first third of the game after that I thought was kind of slow, but I think it definitely picked up towards the end, and I did really like that.
I think the story is good, but I think the world itself is the most memorable for me anyways. I enjoyed my time with the story, but it was sort of standard. I think they could do a lot in the next one to have a really compelling story.
Right, yeah. I think Aloy is a great character, and yeah, like you said, I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. That's going to rock, I think.
I feel like it's going to come out kind of soon, because if it's also on PS4, I'm betting Q1 next year. Right.
Well, yeah. Okay. Nick, what else do you have?
All right, this one maybe is a little controversial with a little bit of recency bias in there.
Among Us, yeah.
Crash Bandicoot 2.
Interesting.
No,
wait, 2?
I'm joking. Spider-Man is what I'm going to say.
I was going to say that's the weirdest fucking
I was so on board for whatever discussion was about to
happen. I was I don't know I don't remember that even having a story.
The lore where I don't even know his name. What is it? Cortex?
Neocortex.
Cortex tells you to find the crystals, and then you find them, and he's actually just making you do it for bad. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy, honestly.
But no, Spider-Man. I don't know how.
No, that's a good pick.
I have it up here for me as well.
Yeah, Tim, maybe you'd be able to talk about more the.
Oh, I could, sir.
The comic universe and stuff like that, because I don't know how much crossover there is with that in this game. But I was gonna say, all the aspects of the story in this are great, especially the end and what happens there.
Yeah, it's very well realized in the way that they place an emphasis on the human side of everything, which I also think ends up being a takedown in the game, having to play as MJ and Peter Parker and Miles before, that stuff's not fun to play. But in terms of story, I think it adds a lot and makes everything feel like it has more stakes, and the performances are much more endearing when you get to see all that stuff outside of just the superhero beat 'em up stuff. But the thing with, like we've always bitched about, just the autofill stealth missions are that has nothing to do with the story.
Yeah,
though, but
right.
I don't know
Story's
why you
really-
guys made me take so long to finish that.
hate you. Wait a minute. Have you beaten the Horizon DLC yet?
All right, Tim, what do you got to say about the comic?
Where can
side
they
of this?
find us?
All right, Brian, where can they find us? You know where they can find us? Dead
In the
after
gr-
that.
yeah, in the
bottom of
ground.
the cliff. No, yeah. What I think you guys both made a good point, Brian. I think the human side is cool, and the MJ stealth missions do suck. But I actually did really like some of the story that you got from those slowed down missions. Like when you were in the museum with MJ, I think that was the first one. So, it's bad for the game that was the one I liked the most, because that means they completely failed to deliver on it after that moment. But
Yeah, I have no problem playing with her. Autofill stealth missions are the worst thing
definitely.
ever. No
I
matter
liked
what
it,
the game
right.
is.
I liked it way more in that first one because before the stealth part, you were just a journalist walking around taking photographs at a museum, which
Yeah.
that reminds me of like Uncharted or Last of Us, where you get to see these cool, like unique character animations, and it slows the gameplay down for more exposition and story. That's all great, and I hope they have like the courage to do more of that and slow the game down. I know it's an action game. I know it has a mass appeal, but like being a journalist and just taking photos is really cool compared to 5 auto-fail stealth missions after that, where it's just very boring and you're not getting that same story.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a comic book fan, as a massive Spider-Man fan, this is one of the best portrayals of what like I picture the comic book, like the iconic comic book Spider-Man to be, like of the movies and of the TV and like cartoons, everything. This is one of the best at like nailing down what exactly Spider-Man's like. Like they got his character, I think, perfect. They got the enthusiasm.
Clearly not, because
like,
they had to change him.
yeah, they got like that plucky, jokey attitude, but they also got the heart that is like what makes him so iconic is like, power, responsibility, right? He makes that ultimate choice. We're gonna make a spoiler right here. We can talk about the spoilers. So if you haven't played Spider-Man yet, this is your warning. Turn this podcast off.
Nick, turn it off quick. I know you didn't actually play it. Turn it off.
So spoiler, Aunt May dies, which is that takes balls. That takes a lot of courage. I think I'm actually really impressed they did something like that in the first game. But what a great way to show choosing great responsibility over just using the great power. So that's really great because they didn't beat you over the head with it, but that was the theme at play there, and I love to see it. It was very fun to see, my favorite comic book character in that type of story, and the performances were excellent.
Aunt May.
No, the Shocker.
Oh yeah, facts.
Yeah, the Sinister Six part was a kind of a letdown because I thought it would. Like it wasn't as
Happens
hyped
too
up.
fast.
It does happen way. It was like a arc instead of like that's like now it's gonna be a Sinister Six game. Yeah, it kind of they really hyped you up when you were in the prison level, which is like the part that we saw. They were like they showed it before the game, so it kind of that took away what would have been one of the best moments, and showed us ahead of time, and then it never really delivered that payoff to that. He never fights all 6 at the same time.
I feel like I'm gonna like Miles Morales more than this though.
Yeah, I
think
think
it'll be
yeah.
a more streamlined package.
And second goes usually are just going to be hopefully better because they've had the time to improve on criticism for the first and learn a little
not
bit.
so much with this one because it's like
Yeah.
way faster. But Spider-Man 2 will probably be a lot different. I would imagine this is just going to be like the same thing, but like less of it.
I agree.
And I would prefer that because I think that by the end of platinuming the original, I had had enough for sure.
Yeah, same. All right, yeah, good pick though, Nick. Anything else to say about it?
Nope. Is it Brian's turn? Or no, it's your turn, Tim.
Yep. I'll put one more up that Brian might be agreeable to before the fights. The gloves go down.
Let the games begin.
I'm just giving Bloodborne a quick lore shout out because
I'm all in on this.
This is such a cool way to tell a story, and it's a way that a game can only tell. What better way to make you experience what the character is experiencing than by actually designing a game that makes you feel that fear, right, of this paranormal, and then that fear slowly evolves into an understanding and like awakening, which is exactly what the insight mechanic is in the game. you gain insight through the levels and beginning to understand how the lore is all fitting together. And as you do that, your character is also beginning to understand like this twisted world and the elder gods and stuff like that. It's super cool, and it's like one of the few games that actually makes you like those reveals are happening at the same time for you and the player, or for you and the character. And the lore, the lore is just excellent.
But also, I think that game works extremely well. Like, when I first played it, I purposely was like, I don't want to know anything about this. Like, I was on such a diehard PlayStation kick that, like, I was buying anything that was their exclusives. I didn't care what it was. And so I just bought it just because of that reason. And I knew that the history of these games was like, oh, they're really hard, and the story is really confusing or whatever. So I like went out of my way to just like play it like totally not knowing anything, not putting any effort into understanding anything, but just experiencing it as just like an abstract piece. You know what I mean? Like if you're watching like a weird art house movie, like just taking it in that way, and it worked really well as like that, because you were just like, what the hell is going on? What is all this? Because the imagery and the music and everything is so striking that it works on that level beyond actually sifting through all those YouTube rabbit holes and understanding the lore. So I think
like
either way,
atmospheric mood setting almost, and that's like kind of all you need sometimes.
Yeah, just totally based off the music and the imagery and the levels and everything. Like just it's extremely memorable as a story. Like trying to piece together what you might think is happening, because that's what I was doing. I was like, oh, I wonder what, because I thought it was going to be a little bit more conventional by the end, like have clear reveals that you could understand just by playing it and not reading item descriptions and stuff. And that turned out not to be the case, but you know.
Yeah, what's the fun in that? The best part is that they actually they do that, but they also do deliver on a story, which is insane, because they don't need to. Because like probably 10% of people that play that actually are reading all the item descriptions and stuff. But there is a cool story and cool history there. Like everything is so thought out if you care to do those deep dives and watch Vadi videos on YouTube. Great channel. And all the other accompanying lore. It's so amazing. Like the Father Gascoigne story that goes on in that one level, and most people won't even notice that. And it's so cool that they take the time to develop these like detailed.
Yeah, it shows
stories.
They really care.
Yeah,
they don't care if anybody sees it.
Right, they're not throwing it to you in a story. They don't slow down the gameplay and make you do some, Uncharted or Last of Us, hallway discussion.
What the hell? Easy.
Or GTA 5 where you just have to drive the car. In Red Dead, it's like, oh, let's go ride a horse for 10 minutes so I can tell you exactly the story you need to hear, and you can't do anything about it. Yeah.
I feel attacked.
So Nick, where can they find us?
For sure, bro. Everything you said about that game.
Yeah, Nick's played it. He knows.
Yeah. Nick's an example of someone who actually became blood-starved in the game and didn't get to finish the story.
All right, Murph. It's time to take the gloves off. Time to get scrapping.
I think it's about time.
It's time to acknowledge the one of, if not the best narratives of the generation, The Last of Us Part 2.
Witcher 3, Blood and Wine. What?
That's a DLC, so check yourself. But yeah, The Last of Us Part 2. Obviously one of the most divisive and controversial video games ever made, but I am a firm believer that it is absolutely terrific. It's overly ambitious, and to that extent there are structural problems that don't resonate with me, but as like a whole piece, I love it to pieces. I love it to death. I feel like it's going to be a game that I continue to go back to very frequently, in the same way that Uncharted 2 and 3 and The Last of Us 1 were games I replayed very often. I've already beaten the game twice, and I'm doing a third run within 3-4 months of the game coming out. It's just one of the most singular and memorable narrative experiences I've ever had playing a video game, this gen or otherwise, that I will likely never forget. Whether I agree or disagree with some of the choices made, it was an extremely visceral and I will not forget playing it. And I think it's a masterclass in atmosphere in voice acting and writing and animations and all that stuff. The only stuff that's up for debate is the story in and of itself, but I again am in the camp that it is as good as the story in the first game, ambition aside.
Oh, you don't mean that.
The first game is a way easier to tell a story. I'm not saying the game necessarily is better, but I view them as equal. Like, it does truly feel like a part 2 to me, like that it continues. Like I my brain compartmentalizes them together. I think the first one's a better package because it's trying to do less and thus succeeds. This is like one of the most ambitious stories ever told in a video game from a structure perspective. Maybe not like the A to B, this is what the story is, but like the way the game is structured is very, very ambitious. And I think that leads to its faults in my eyes.
If you go back and listen to our episode on The Last of Us 2, spoiler cast, one thing that we did mention then, which I think still holds true now, is that it's not a necessary story, but it's still great.
I mean, yeah,
you could
like,
just leave Last of Us 1 the way it was forever, and it would have been perfect. This didn't need to be made, but what they did with it, I think, was still great.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think when you have something end ambiguously like that, like you never need to go back to it. But I think this is like, I was of the camp that I was expecting to not like this game, and I absolutely love it. But I mean, it's tough to like because I also view the experience of playing it like in that same scope of the story, because I just had such a extremely memorable like time playing the game, not just like are the story beats memorable or are the story beats as emotional as the first one, which I don't think they are. But I think like the overall atmosphere and setting and the play time like I had with the game, I absolutely loved it. And it's definitely one of if not my favorite narratives of the generation. Murph, you're awfully quiet over there, Mr. Naughty Dog hater.
I also have this game on my list.
Do you? Wow,
Yeah.
About time. About time you admit you're wrong.
I'm not wrong about my critiques of it, but there's no doubting that it is doing, it is going for a very deep story, and it's setting out to do quite a lot, probably doing too much, but
yeah,
it does do a great job of continuing this world that it's building. And I think a lot of the writing is really great. There's some amazing character moments with dialogue that you can only get in a Naughty Dog game. So that's always going to be the case. I think the writing in Naughty Dog is just so superb. Even Last Legacy and Uncharted 4 deserve shout-outs just for...
the banter.
The banter, exactly. It's like an episode of a good TV show, or like, the slow part of an Indiana Jones movie when they're talking to each other, something like that. But Last of Us 2 sets out to do quite a lot, and it has some of the best story moments in games, I think. And I definitely some of the best dialogue writing in games. I really like the way they developed Ellie and Dina's relationship, for one. I think that's great. Same with Lev and with Abby. I think that's also there's some really good development going on. I think all the flashback scenes for Ellie
I can't imagine anybody dislikes those.
I would imagine anyone who dislikes Last of Us 2, but who liked Last of Us 1 would still like those. Yeah,
that's like
those are
just
just
straight up Last of Us 1 DLC.
Yeah, it's like what we came for, quite literally.
Nah,
yeah, but
I came for whatever weirdo depraved shit Druckmann was cooking up, and I did not leave hungry. Let me tell you.
Did you hear what Druckmann, friend of the show, by the way?
He is friend of the show.
That's up for debate.
Did you hear what he did in the mocap?
Crazy.
All right, Nick, what do you have up next?
I had that, so I guess I'm just going to go for it with my last one here and say Red Dead Redemption 2.
Whoa, that was my last one. No.
Damn.
Yeah.
No.
I'm guessing that's on your list.
This game didn't do it for me.
That's probably the best one if we're keeping it a buck here. I have no problems with the structure of this story or anything, so.
This would also be my vote for the best narrative in video games.
It's kind of like comparing like a book or a movie to like a 70-hour Netflix series, though, because it's so long.
Yeah.
But it's like perfect. But it's like this is also one of the most ambitious stories ever in a video game. So.
Yeah, and I think personally this lands on its feet better than The Last of Us 2. it does tell like a very archetypal story in the Western genre, but it is still one of the best Westerns, I think, which is
one of the things that's
Best
so
Western?
good about this.
that's why I was laughing, Nick. Yeah.
One of the things that's so good about this is like, I remember you and me, Murph, were talking about this like way back when they first announced this. We're like, why the fuck are they making a prequel? Like, who cares? Arthur Morgan, bro. Like, and it ends up not only being like a terrific story, but it's so good that it completely like recontextualizes the first game and makes like knowing it's a prequel makes everything so much sadder that's happening. Like, it has this melancholy to it, and it's like
They
very
really-
serious for a Rockstar game. Like, yeah, it's archetypal and stuff, but like there's like genuinely like gut punch stuff going on in this. Like, that I don't like. Rockstar tells excellent stories, but it's usually kind of tongue in cheek. But this is like legitimately like very moving.
It's an epic.
Stuff. It's like a sweeping epic, and it helps that it's so long, and it's really sad that I don't think that Rockstar will ever make a game like this again, just because of the success of GTA Online. I think this will be their bowing out of this type of game, and going forward they'll probably have like 20-hour GTA campaigns and then online that they make hundreds of millions of dollars off of for perpetuity. But it was good while it lasted, wasn't it?
Dude, absolutely. I mean, this is not only my favorite narrative of the generation, it's my favorite story in a video game ever.
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
And yeah, I think, you said it very well. It has these incredible, memorable characters and gut-punching interactions between them, and it hits you so hard in ways that games rarely do with their story. But by the end of it, I was just blown away. And I agree, they did nail it with the prequel, playing off your knowledge, assuming you knew what happened at the end of the first game, making this whole thing a tragedy. And it's fantastic. On every note, I think it's fantastic.
And I also really appreciate how much they're willing to take their time in this game, which a lot of people shit on them for. But like, to me, it was so rewarding how slow it was for like pieces of it, because it makes the exciting parts hit so much more because they're earned. Like, you have moments where you're herding sheep or whatever, or like there's downtime. It's not just 70 hours of shooting people. And I think that builds the story in a really satisfying way. I understand a lot of people don't have the time or don't want to spend the time on a game that's this long.
But yes, I think they trust the audience, which is a great sign. And I think it's very similar to a lot of actual Westerns where they do have a very slow pace, and they build the tension up over time, and it's much more a story about the environment and the atmosphere. And yeah, it's awesome. Arthur Morgan is one of the best written and developed characters in a video game.
Yeah, for sure. After we were dunking on him in like 2017 or 2016, it was like a long time ago.
Yeah, the first trailer of him didn't. It was pretty badass when you go back and look at it. I think he's like drinking the guy's soup, right? You owe me some money, boy.
Yeah, he has a great arc.
So is it my turn next? Because speaking of boy.
Oh no.
Read it, boy.
I had that queued up the entire episode.
Oh man. Well, thanks for doing one less soundbite for me to add in after this.
Why was the sound quality good?
It sounded fine to me.
I literally just had it sitting underneath me, and I would periodically like smirk to myself, just waiting. I like almost played it multiple times early. Continue.
Yeah, this is a great story and great characters and great writing between those characters. I think the relationship that develops between the primary characters, Kratos and his son, Atreus, is like probably some of the most heartwarming character interactions in any game. Just behind The Last of Us. I agree. The overall story, I should say the plot. The story is about a father connecting to his son. That is the story. The plot isn't as good as the story.
I also don't think like the world or any of that.
I love the world because of
between those two characters, and that's like where my praise ends. But I'm obviously very minority opinion here, so who cares?
Yeah. So the writing in the world is great too, because you have these awesome character interactions, but you also get to hear a bunch of Norse mythology, but told, by the head, Mimir. And like the way he tells it is like a spin on it. It's kind of this whole, it's not just them reading from, a mythology textbook, right? It's the world they created set to Norse mythology. So it's kind of like how Neil Gaiman, it feels like he could have written this where he kind of takes mythology and puts his own spin on it. They changed how the characters work and how they, like, what their motivations are. And all that's really interesting. And the stories that you hear on the boat when you're, paddling around the lake, getting collectibles, exploring, you hear some great stories. You also hear like jokes and stuff, just like really funny stuff like that. Just those character moments are so great, and they always come up out of nowhere, and the characters react to stuff, and they have such natural conversations. It's so interesting to see how well crafted those conversations are as they come up. Atreus will tell Kratos a few jokes, and then Kratos, he tries to tell like a story to Atreus, and he's just such a bad storyteller that like that's where the humor comes from. It's like his deadpan retelling of the tortoise and the hare story or something like that. It's fantastic. Yeah, and I'm really excited to see what they do with the next story, because by the end of that game, I'm not going to spoil it, but by the last third of that game, the story did ramp up, and it ended on such a interesting point where I'm really excited to see where that ending is going to play into the next couple games that they make, because I think we're in for like a really fantastic epic saga with this only being the beginning. And it's almost kind of like Red Dead. I mean, Red Dead was about an 80-90 hour story if you do everything. This could be that, but maybe spread out over 3 games, because this did feel very slow in terms of what they're doing. Kratos went from killing the Greek pantheon in God of War 1 through 3 to a much smaller goal, right? And so maybe this is just the beginning, because we all know how these games end, so things will ramp up plot wise. So if you maybe a decade from now get to play maybe 2 more games in this saga, I don't know, and put it together as a whole story, it's probably going to be a great beginning, middle, and end with the way they set it up, at least. But yeah, just for the writing alone in those characters is that's why it gets up there for me.
I'm definitely interested to see where it goes, and I want to go back to this one at some point and platinum it before the next one comes out. But until then, I'm lukewarm on the story.
For sure, bro.
The game itself's good. It's just the story, I think, is very video gamey to me. Like, you got to go here.
I agree.
Is gone.
I agree.
And then you got to go here. Oh, they're not there anymore. Like the actual the overarching plot, and
it's kind of like a fetch quest almost.
But. Yeah, it like feels like it should have been the first 5 hours of a game, and they stretched it into an entire game. Like, and I don't think the stuff you were talking about, even though I like now that that's all good, for me it didn't hit enough to make me see the other things I didn't like about it. Still a great game though. Not in my best of the generation.
Right on.
To each their own.
All right, Nick, any more from you?
Nah, that's it for me.
All right, Brian.
I didn't have any more written down, but could
shout
out Batman Arkham Knight, the Uncharted games. Jedi Fallen Order was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought about shouting out. It builds off Star Wars pretty well, where you would think, oh, that's a given, they don't get points for that, it's Star Wars, but even Star Wars can't build off Star Wars sometimes. So shout out to them. Sorry guys. I'll shout out a couple. Obra Dinn, The Return of the Obra Dinn. I've mentioned, I discussed that in depth on the the indie podcast episode, but that has some really great story beats and discoveries that you make. Uncharted, Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4 both have really great story moments. A lot of the slower stuff in Uncharted 4 is fantastic, especially with Nate and Elena.
Yeah, that stuff's all really good.
I threw Until Dawn down because that's like, kind of like Detroit Become Human. It's like an interactive Netflix show almost, or something like that. And it's pretty well done. Undertale gets a shout out, I think, for a lot of
about that.
yeah, its lore and characters and just the humor and the writing is great. And then finally for me is going to be Witcher 3. The Witcher 3.
Ooh.
Nah, see, this is the opposite where the only thing I liked about that game was the story. And everything else I did not like.
Yeah. I mean, it has a pretty long and just kind of like generic fantasy story, Chosen One, all that stuff going on. But it is very well written throughout, and the characters
side
are
quests.
Yeah, the characters are super memorable, but it does shine in the side quests because every side quest, well, not every side quest, but so many side quests are hand tailored and just have such a loving touch that you don't see in the side quests of like Spider-Man, right?
Well, come on. Go get Peter's backpack again.
Yeah, or even the side quests of Skyrim, I don't think story wise, a lot of them don't hit Witcher 3 levels. And yeah, the writing is so well done in so many of those, which are all optional again. So, shout out to them for having the courage to kind of scatter their writing throughout the world and not just focus it all into a main plot. And they got even better at storytelling in the 2 expansions. The story in Hearts of Stone is like genuinely a very good story. And like that alone expansion, if that was just like a separate game and you just played that story, I think that would be still one of the best narratives of the generation. But yeah, I think that's it for me. So do you guys want to settle on maybe a top 3 narratives of the generation maybe? I think we all agree Red Dead 2 is
Red Dead
number
2
one.
Last of Us are an absolute non-negotiable. Non-negotiable,
Yes.
Murphy. You hear that?
Are you sure about that?
Nick, what do you
Yes.
say?
This
There's-
other
Alright, so
third
there's
of
no-
Pseudo
that's
Ludo
like-
says
I'm willing to.
That's like
no.
absolutely benchmark those two. Like, there's nothing else close. in my
What would your third one be in your thoughts?
I'm willing to let whatever slide as long as those two make it. You can put fucking Rocket League in there. I don't care.
Nick, do you have a?
Madden 18.
no, the-
Oh, I did want to shout
the
out the
Fortnite story?
Spike Lee joint in NBA 2K15 or something.
Madden when the guy makes fun of his dead parents.
only that part.
How's that for intangibles?
yeah, that scene.
We
That's
talked about that
so true.
last week too, so
We're
that's
talking
getting a
about
lot
it
of
every
love.
week now.
That came up way more than I thought in our game of the generation discussion. Yeah. So, Nick, do you have a top 3?
I would put Edith Finch at 3 if I was doing that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, on my
I'd put
list,
Edith.
on my list that would be my third, I guess.
Edith Finch is above Last of Us for me, actually.
That's
crazy.
Yeah, it's fine.
I
get
would.
behind
I mean, this isn't going to work, but I would say God of War. Personally, I like better than The Last of Us in terms of narrative,
Jeez.
and
Wah,
Witcher 3.
wah,
I like better than The
wah.
Last of Us in terms of
Oh
narrative.
my
I would,
god! Put
but
this guy in the ground.
I
Brian.
like the list. I like the list. I like the list as it stands. Obviously, I totally respect what Naughty Dog
what's
is
3?
doing with her. So I'd go. I'd go Red Dead 2, Edith Finch, and Last of Us. And you guys both wanted Last of Us ahead, so I think that's our number 2. All right, and then that's a fitting place for it, isn't it? Number 2.
Because part 2, or are you making some sort of poop joke?
Oh, it's a poop joke.
Oh, you hate to see it.
Oh
Hate to see
yeah.
it. Tell that to Druckmann's face, all right?
I wouldn't
Tweet at
because
him.
like I'm sure he hears it
You're
enough.
scared.
Tweet at him from the official Pseudo Ludo account and tell him that.
Say
Yeah,
hey,
I think
say
that's
hey.
a-
1/3 of our podcast doesn't like your game.
I
just
did have
am
before we
real-
wrap up, guys. I got one more question for you,
Oh no.
and this is what I thought of as I was making my list.
As I lay dying.
Did this generation surpass last generation for narratives?
No, absolutely not.
I agree.
Not even close.
And just a quick, I mean, this isn't about the PS3, Xbox 360 generation, but I don't think it surpassed it. I think The Last of Us 1, I think the story of
BioShock.
the first 3 Uncharted games, and I think BioShock are like,
The Walking
yeah,
Dead.
that
GTA,
Walking Dead.
Red Dead,
GTA.
both GTAs,
yeah,
Mass
both
Effect.
GTAs and Red Dead.
Skyrim, Far Cry 3.
Fallout New Vegas has like some of the best narratives in their, dialogue options and stuff.
And then like a bunch of smaller games.
So I think, I mean, like the fact that we just rattled off, 10 games right there, and I think
All
most
the
of those.
Batman Arkham games are better than Batman Arkham Knight or Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
superhero stuff is better then too.
Dark Souls 1 has the best lore out of all 3 games, or
You
all
think?
3 Dark Souls. Yeah, best lore, yes. Best
So
other things.
just the Dark Souls games or all the Soulsborne games?
Oh, all the Soulsborne games.
Also
my lore is the favorite of Dark Souls 1 out of
And
all
also
Soulsborne.
the infamous games were way better for last gen too.
Narrative wise, yeah.
Those actually had good stories. Yeah.
What I think,
Sleeping Dogs is a great one.
what I
mean,
think
it
Tim
seems
is
like-
trying to say is that Dark Souls 2 is the worst of the games.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it for sure. this
Still
entire
like it more
episode.
than last
Remember when we got to pick however
What did
many
you just
games?
say? Let's get him. Put
Remember-
this guy in the ground.
Remember when we got to pick however many games it was to bring to an island, and this nerd picked Dark Souls 2?
Yeah. And
All
then
right, low key, it was just
quickly-
because it was the only one I hadn't platinumed, and I couldn't live with the incompletion on the
you
platinum.
were still
know?
trying to platinum in a hypothetical scenario where you were going to a desert
Yeah, man.
island.
I couldn't go to a desert island knowing Dark Souls 2 didn't get finished, and I didn't have all the trophies for all 3, so my flare on Reddit wouldn't have the Dark Souls 2 trophy. Man,
Wow, you really got a
Yeah.
lot to unpack there.
yeah, I need some help
You have to face the Reddit mobs one day, Murph. Okay.
someday. Yeah, they're gonna now the people, they're gonna be looking for someone with a Dark Souls 2 trophy flare, aren't they?
Oh, I'm sure they will. Light those torches up.
Oh man, foul beast.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, foul beast. Oh, that game is. Yeah, and shout out to PS3 and Xbox 360. Jeez.
Yeah, wait, back then,
Also, the Call of Duty games had way better
That's what I was
stories.
gonna say. First-person shooters had good stories back then. Resistance, Killzone, Halo, COD.
Modern Warfare
Also,
1, 2, Black
Speaking
Ops.
of that, for the PS5 UI thing, did you see the
What?
avatar? That was the
Killzone thing.
yeah, the login
Yeah, I
avatar
don't-
is Killzone.
I don't buy into that at all, but
Bro, if they no, dude,
I'm in.
they know what they're doing. They're not
I
going to
would-
make that the avatar.
Well, did you see the whole thing? That it's like the name too. The name of the person
user?
that had the Killzone avatar is a character in the universe that leaks stuff. Apparently,
Oh, bro, come on. Come on.
but I mean,
you don't
I
buy
would-
into that?
I would. No, it just seems like a coincidence. Or like maybe like an Easter egg, but not like
Dude, the
we're
coincidences don't
making a
happen
game.
like that on a Sony conference. Like, they know exactly what they're doing with those,
I mean-
with what they're
I
putting
mean,
out there.
I'm
They could have
all
just
in
as
on
easily
another
put a
Killzone
Spider-Man or God of War. Like, they would have done Aloy or Kratos if they want, or Drake if they wanted just a
just can't get my hopes
PlayStation
up.
character.
But if they do make another Killzone, they need to go back to Killzone 1 through 3 and not this Shadowfall nonsense.
Yeah.
I
Plus,
want
I
it
mean,
to be only
Herman Hulst is
Browns.
probably just trying to like rep his games,
Yeah, I mean, it could be a tease,
But-
but I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'm just too.
And then we're getting very
jaded.
scattered here, but Portal and Portal 2 for last gen in terms of narrative as
Yeah,
well.
Portal
Blow
2
most
especially.
most of these games out of the water for narrative.
Portal 2's dialogue is so good.
So yeah, I think if we did narratives of the decade, like we'd probably have it would be stacked way more towards the back end of the decade, I think. But
Yeah,
but
yeah,
alas,
for sure.
you know.
Until
Yeah, I
this
mean
gen
quality of one game over the quantity of the past games. I think Red Dead 2 is still my favorite narrative in any game. So that did come this gen, but in terms of quantity, we got so many last gen.
started. Yeah,
But that's okay.
and a lot of these are sequels to those games too.
And that may be something that may have something to it, but alas. All right, you guys want to wrap it up, and what are we discussing next week?
The
Best developers?
developer. I also think we
Alright.
should say developers we predict will win the next generation. Which kind of goes hand in hand, but like who we predict
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be
yeah.
on top.
Pseudo Ludo Interactive.
Anyways, I think that does it for this episode. Nick, where can they actually find us this time?
They can actually find us at
In the fucking ground.
lists our addresses. They can find us at Twitter. Fuck. They can find us on Twitter at PseudoLudoCast. They can find us on Instagram.
At Twitter's headquarters.
They can find us on Twitter at PseudoLudoCast. They can find us on Instagram at PseudoLudoPod. And they can find us on YouTube when Brian posts the videos a month late.
They can't find us there. I'm going off the grid. All right. Well, I need to eat dinner.
All right,
Damn, bro, it's bedtime.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't eat dinner, so
I'll catch you fellas later then.
You ever try sleeping?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.